Good evening and welcome to APTN National News on this International Women's Day. I'm Sav Jonesa. Marchers closed downtown Winnipeg's most famous intersection today for a round dance and march to the Manitoba Legislative Building. The city is ground zero for the Search the Landfill movement.
Quit begging! No more begging! Doing enough work!
In the city have been calling on the provincial government to move forward with a landfill search since December 2022. That's when the Winnipeg police said they believe the remains of at least 2 First Nations women could be in the Prairie Green landfill. They refused to do the search, citing safety concerns. 2 studies have since confirmed a search is possible. Despite Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew continuing to commit to the search, protesters say not enough progress has been made. They called on Premier Kinew to come out and face the crowd.
Make it make sense. I'm sick of words with no action, and I'm sick of sitting in these rooms repeatedly. Politician to politician, from premier to premier, and where has things gone? Nowhere. The progress still stays the same. We've more than done the work. We did not 1, but we did 2 reports entailing exactly what was needed to start a search. We told you this is the funding that we need. This is the infrastructure. This is the land that we're going to need. And have they given anything? No. Shame.
Another Search the Landfill rally took place on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Supporters asked all levels of government to fund a search of the Prairie Green landfill. About a dozen people stood in solidarity by the Eternal Flame. Activist Bridget Tolley has been organizing rallies like this since 2006. She told the group that International Women's Day should be a time to celebrate women. Instead, they're asking for immediate action to find the remains of 3 women.
Every time there's an election, they talk about missing and murdered Indigenous women, and then nothing is done. So now, it's been 6 months. I hope we hear something soon on what's going to happen to them. We want to bring them home. We've been fighting for them since we found out they were theirs.
And to Vancouver, where another rally to search the landfills took place today. Joining us from there is APTN's Tina House.
Thank you. It's International Women's Day and also the National Day of Action to search the landfills. Joining me today is Lorelei Williams. Lorelei, you've actually been out to the landfills in Winnipeg, is that correct?
I went out to Camp Mercedes, which is another camp set up by the Humanitarian Society, or that big thing there. Yes, but I'm in connection with them back east. And I'm doing a lot of work with people in Mexico as well to try to figure out what can be done.
I mean, to imagine your family member in these landfills and the Canadian government literally not doing a thing about it, what would you like to say about the government's inaction on this issue?
I am disgusted with the government. I am disgusted with anybody who is putting a stop to this, because if this were white women, they would have been found already. And I don't feel like there's just them there. This is a huge issue across the country, and their family members need to be taken out of that landfill as soon as possible.
I can't imagine the feeling of going there and also talking with the family members. What are the family members feeling now, know that it's taken this long to actually have any action? Today, people like right behind us are standing up to demand answers and justice.
It's horrible that they have to fight for this. The family should not have to fight for this. They should be able to have their family members and bury them properly. This is not right. It's not normal. And my heart breaks for those families, because if that were my family member, I would want to take my mom, my sister, my cousin, my grandma. I would want them out of there. Nobody wants their family member buried in garbage. Like, we're already treated like garbage, and then for all of these, this red tape or whatever it is, the government, the police saying we can't do it for these reasons. Our community can do it. I know people that can do this. I've done searches down in Mexico. I have some experience with it. They're willing to help us up here. So it can be done. It can be done.
And for those at home watching this today, what can they do? What can they do to help this issue and pressure the government in doing something?
Definitely write letters, or reach out to the community who wants to do this. We are all experts at something, and we need all the support that we can get. Just imagine if this was your loved one in that dumpster. Just imagine if it was your loved one in the landfill. Like, just the horrifying details behind these cases. I've seen it, I read it, and they need your support right now. We need to get their family members out of that landfill. That should be the #1 priority for everybody right now.
Pal Halcia, Lorelei Williams, thank you so much again for joining us. Back to you in studio.
In Manitoba, the results of a mental health assessment for a man accused of killing 5 family members have been revealed. Last month, 29-year-old Ryan Manakisik was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of his common-law partner, their 3 young children, and his partner's 17-year-old cousin. Their bodies were found in 3 separate areas in and around Carman, Manitoba, an hour southwest of Winnipeg. Court records reveal Manakisik has a history of addiction and mental health issues like anxiety and depression. But on Thursday, the results of a court-ordered mental health assessment were delivered. Manakisik is mentally fit to stand trial. His case is adjourned until June 3rd. The Anishinaabe Police Service in Northern Ontario says they are suspending Roland Morrison as their chief. Morrison hails from the Chapleau Cree Nation east of Wawa, Ontario. He served with NAP since 1997, and he's been the force's chief since 2019. According to a statement, Morrison has been suspended with pay pending an investigation for misconduct. Deputy Chief Brad Deuce will act as chief. NAPS has 230 officers on 34 First Nations in Northern Ontario. We need to take a quick break for a moment, and we'll see you when we return. The Trudeau government is set to unveil its 2024 budget next month. In the lead up to the April 16th budget release, there's been a lot of speculation about what sort of funding Indigenous priorities may receive. Savannah Kelly talked about the upcoming budget with NDP MP Lori Idlout.
Thanks for joining us today, Ms. Idlout. So from what the NDP has been saying in recent weeks, is it correct to say that Indigenous services will have a smaller budget in 2024?
Well, according to their 2023 and 2024 departmental plans, that's what we interpreted.
And what are the areas that the NDP believes we can expect to see these cuts in?
So for funding announcements going back to 2019, the programs that would sunset include Jordan's Principle and supporting the Inuit Child First initiative. Then in 2021, funding for mental health and wellness would sunset, as well as with the budget 2022 funding to implement the federal framework to address the legacy of residential schools. These are just some of the major areas that we've decided to highlight.
And what does the party think the Liberals need to do in the budget in order to address the Indigenous housing crisis?
They need to expand on investments for infrastructure to Indigenous peoples. I know that specifically for the territorial governments, they've requested $600 million, and I know that the need is far greater. When the Liberal and the NDP signed on for the supply and confidence agreement to provide support for Indigenous housing, we came to $4 billion over 7 years, but we maintained that even that was not enough.
And what about the overall infrastructure gap?
The overall infrastructure gaps, like according to the Assembly of First Nations and the work that NDP has been helping to find, the First Nations infrastructure gap is $349 billion. Indigenous Services Canada has committed to filling that gap by 2030, and we have yet to see any substantial plans to make sure that even milestones are reached, because 2030 is fast approaching. Those major investments need to happen right away.
And if the Liberals don't reverse course, what will this mean for Indigenous people?
Indigenous peoples will remain marginalized. I've said this time and time again. I was just in Kimirut, where the lack of investments force Inuit in that community, Northerners in that community, to endure hardships like overcrowded housing, the housing condition. Most houses are molded. The community has one school that is way too small. It's in severe and dire need of renovations. They need a new school, as well as an elders facility. There are so many huge infrastructure gaps for all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And if these investments continue to be underfunded, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see Inuit, First Nations, and Métis to be marginalized in Canada's society.
Well, we'll have to leave it there, but once again, thanks for joining us today, Ms. Idlaut.
It's a totem pole that currently sits in front of the Boy Scouts of Canada building in Ottawa. It's been there for over 60 years and is now the casualty of decades of Ottawa winters and road salt. The totem pole is a creation of the late world-renowned carver Mungo Martin. It was gifted to the Scouts in 1961. They're in the process of moving from their current location, and the land the pole is sitting on is set to be redeveloped. If the pole has to be removed, Martin's home nation of Kwakwaka'wakw would like it returned. Otherwise, Martin's adopted grandson, Richard Hunt, wants to see it rehabilitated.
Yeah, well, I've always said if it's in the public domain, our totem pole should be maintained. So instead of just letting them sit there for years and kind of fall apart.
Alberta Ballet is opening more doors for Indigenous youth to get on the dance floor. It's exploring a beautiful collaboration between powwow and ballet. CTV's Tyler Barrow has more.
2, 3, 4.
A class is underway at Alberta Ballet, where tutus meet traditional Indigenous shawls, and dancers are given ballet slippers and moccasins.
We were doing our routine. We learned the last little bits of it.
9-year-old Olivia Lull is a member of the Dene Soltline Nation. She's one of 20 Indigenous children participating in the collaboration between Alberta Ballet and the Indigenous Sport Council of Alberta. They're combining powwow and ballet.
Dance is a really universal language that really brings communities together.
6 weeks of classes are open to those aged 8 to 12. The hour-long session is split between performers learning the fundamentals of ballet and powwow.
In the amount of time that I've been alive, I have never had the experience or seen the opportunity for powwow and ballet to interconnect.
Such a special collaboration because it gives us a chance to really share our cultures.
The program is funded by the Alberta Ballet Foundation to help get more youth experiencing the benefits of dance, giving girls like Olivia Lull a whole lot of reasons to keep her body moving.
It's important to me to share my culture, to keep the culture alive.
Culture which is meant to be embraced.
Oh, ladies, you should be very proud of yourselves. You just nailed it.
Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Calgary.
Okay, time for one last break, but stick around. We take a look ahead to the Arctic Winter Games next. Welcome back. Time now for a photo of the day. Clarence Jones shared what he called the Gitxsan fiery sky. This is what he saw over the Gitxsan Nation, located in British Columbia. Always a beautiful area. Thanks, Clarence. This weekend, think of us and send us a picture to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. It'll be -1 in St. John's and -1 in Charlottetown. -13 in Nain and -14 in Kuujjuaq. It'll be +1 in Quebec City and +9 in Montreal. +9 in Toronto, +6 in North Bay. It'll be +2 in Thunder Bay and -8 in Big Trout Lake. Puckatawagan is -7 and God's Lake is -5 and sunny. Gimli is -6 and Barons River is -4. Yorkton is -5 and North Battleford is -3. Stony Rapids is -5 and Buffalo Narrows is -3. +6 in Fort McMurray, +1 in High Level. +12 in Medicine Hat and +9 in Edmonton. Vancouver is +8 and +12 in Kamloops. 0 in Fort Nelson and +8 in Prince George. Old Crow is -24 and Watson Lake is -3. Yellowknife is -2 and -20 in Norman Wells. Coolville Lake is -19 and it's -30 in Tuktoyaktuk. -16 in Chesterfield and -23 in Cambridge Bay. Iqaluit is -23 and -18 in Resolute. A team representing Treaty 6 are home after beating 192 other teams and taking second place at the 2024 BCA Gold Division World 8-Ball Pool Championships in Las Vegas. The 5 men from Cold Lake First Nation, Onion Lake Cree Nation, and Pelican Lake Cree Nation took the championship game to the last ball in a hard-fought loss. The men split the $5,000 U.S. prize. Team member Michael Blackman told APTN that their performance turned a few heads.
For us to go out there and play and represent us, just to show the world, we're really good. We can play. We can keep up with anybody. And to go against teams that are from, Kansas City, Texas, they're just big cities compared to our little small town where we play out of. So, we can show them, the small people can step up and go against the top players you have to offer.
In the coming days, teams from across the Arctic will be descending upon Matsu, Alaska for the 2024 Arctic Winter Games. This week, Team Nunavut's hockey teams were practicing in Iqaluit. Trevor Wright brings us more.
This week in Iqaluit's AWG Arena, built for the 2002 Arctic Winter Games, the athletes of 2024 practiced for this year's games. Justin Ituk of Coral Harbor is playing defense for Team Nunavut's U18 male hockey team. These aren't the first AWG games he's qualified for, but it will be the first one he will be taking part in.
No, I got picked for the 2020 Arctic Winter Games, but the COVID canceled it.
Yeah. He says his family are excited to see him finally play.
Yeah, they are excited. I'll be meeting my parents in Alaska on Saturday. Yeah. I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Tayana Mursa Alec of Rankin Inlet is playing defense for Nunavut's U18 female team. She says her family are thrilled to see the games because she'll be playing on the same team alongside her sister.
My family feels really excited, especially because my sister and I are going. Yeah. It feels amazing.
Yeah.
It feels, I can't really explain it. It's just a different kind of feeling.
Jimmy Ollie played as goalie on the Nunavut U18 male team last year, and 2024 will be his last chance to take part in the Arctic Winter Games.
It feels good. It's my last year. I'm looking forward to play with the team And I hope we bring back the golden to our community, and yeah.
For Ollie, hockey runs in the family, and he's excited to continue that.
My late uncle was goalie, so I was hockey player, and I got used to playing goalie, and I'm here. Yeah.
Etuk says they don't quite have a strategy quite yet, as many players are meeting each other for the first time this week.
I don't know. We've just been practicing our offensive and our defensive drills, and I don't know, just trying to get used to each other before the games.
On Saturday, they fly off to Matsu, Alaska. The males face off against Yukon Sunday 8 a.m. local time, and the females face off against Northern Alberta North Monday 10:45 a.m. local time. Trevor Wright, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Prompted by a series of deaths involving the Prince Albert Police, a Saskatchewan government report is being kept under wraps. That is one of the issues being looked at tonight by Christopher Reed on an all-new episode of APTN Investigates. He joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Christopher. What is the report about?
Well, the province paid a former Edmonton police chief to come in and do a review of the police in Prince Albert. And it was after a series of 3 deaths in the jail they have in the basement of the Prince Albert Police Service headquarters. And there was also a well-known event called the Baby Tanner incident in the press. A young Indigenous mother in an abusive situation called the Prince Albert Police asking for help, and long story short, they took her to the police station, ignoring her pleas that her son not be left alone with the father, and the father killed the baby. So a 70-page report was written about the Prince Albert Police, but only 6 pages of recommendations have been released to the public.
So who has been allowed to read the report?
Well, the only person we have found who was privy to it is the chief of the Prince Albert Police, Patrick Nogier, and he tells us he is the only person in management at the Prince Albert Police who has been able to read it. And in fairness, it's not Police Chief Nogier who decides who gets to see it. It's the province's report, and they are keeping it to themselves. And people I have spoken to wonder why a report like that would be kept secret. Also, the Prince Albert Grand Council, as well as the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, want to see the report. They're concerned about relations between police and the Indigenous population in Prince Albert. And so they think the report should be available to read.
Oh, what does the province say about why the report is being kept secret?
Well, I'll just say first that we tried to get the complete report via what's called a Freedom of Information request, but they just sent us 70 mostly redacted blank pages. So we asked the province, why won't they release it? And they said there are personal, sensitive, and confidential details in the report that cannot be released publicly, which might leave you with more questions.
Well, thanks for taking the time to tell us about the episode, Christopher, and I can't wait to watch.
Thank you.
You can catch APTN Investigates Jailtown a few minutes from now, immediately following the APTN National News. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News today. I'm Sav Jonesa, and from all of us here at APTN National News, thank you so much for joining us.